Hello everyone, VVizard here once again. It's been much sooner than expected, huh? Well, if you've watched the Four Prince Workshop Direct yesterday, then you already know who our new character is. It's none other than the Paleblood Hunter, the player avatar from Bloodborne, with this character being made and designed by the amazing artist of Seer, and with myself collabing with him on it. Now before we move on to how the character came to be, let's rewatch their trailer, especially since we have something new to go with it. Yes! Not only is the Paleblood Hunter joining the Rivals Workshop, but they'll also be receiving their very own home stage. And as you've seen at the end of the trailer, they're also part of the Final Frenzy. But how? Well, we'll explain that later, but for now, let's dive into how this character came to be. So, funny story, on the Frenzy server, people always share their artwork and whatnot. Seer especially is always sharing his incredible Rivals idle sprites, many of them being what-if characters and concepts, with one of them being the Hunter from Bloodborne, which we were all very connected with at the time due to working on The Chosen Undead. With myself and Seer then discussing how this character could work, we ended up vibing with the concept and ideas so much that we decided to make it a reality. But still, who is this Paleblood Hunter? And why did we go with this design and weapon choice for them? Bloodborne was released in 2014 exclusively for the PlayStation 4. Created by From Software, Bloodborne is somewhat a spin-off of Dark Souls, thus being part of the Souls series. Bloodborne shares many similarities with Dark Souls, like its high difficulty, interconnected world, high level of customization, and very rich and atmospheric world, bosses, and lore. However, that's also how the game sets itself apart from other titles in the series. Its gothic vibes and more aggressive gameplay were enough to make the game an instant classic, one which unfortunately is still trapped on the PS4, with no new ports or re-releases to speak of. Maybe one day. In Bloodborne, you take the role of an outsider to the town of Yharnam, a city built around the Healing Church and their practice of blood ministration, which were said to cure all ailments and afflictions. Waking up with amnesia after receiving an infusion of Yharnam's special blood, you are thrust into the role of a hunter on the night of the hunt, where you must fend off the inhabitants of Yharnam, who are slowly transforming into beasts due to their overconsumption of blood. As the night progresses, however, you come to understand there is a secret truth to the city's current state, that the Healing Church was attempting to commune with eldritch beings, the Great Ones, in an attempt to ascend humanity, and that it is your job to halt the source of the spreading scourge of beasts, lest the night carry on forever. Bloodborne stands out from the other Souls titles in many ways, but one of the main ones is the trick mechanic. Nearly every main weapon in Bloodborne has 2 different stances. The hunter performs the trick maneuver, which not only transforms the weapon, but also gives the player a completely new moveset. That was the main design trait we wanted to represent here in Rivals. Like the Chosen Undead, the Paleblood Hunter also uses the game's main attire for the player character, featured in official artwork and promotional material. Unlike the Chosen Undead, however, instead of using the main weapon being the Saw Cleaver weapon, we instead went with one of the game's DLC weapons, the Beast Cutter. This was for 2 main reasons, the first being that this weapon has 2 very different stances, the base club mode and the extended whip mode, and the other being that this is Seer's favorite Bloodborne weapon. As was just mentioned, their main mechanic is the trick weapon. By pressing neutral special, the hunter will perform a trick maneuver, which transforms their main weapon into a different form. Doing so changes nearly all of their normals, aerials, and strongs. You have not only the club stance, which features faster attacks with less range, but also the whip stance, which features greater range and multi-hit hitboxes, though being a bit slower and more unorthodox to use. Performing a balance for both stances is the key to achieve victory with the hunter. But there is another way to change your stance, known as trick attacks. During the end lag of any tilt or aerial, if you press neutral special, the hunter will perform what is called a trick attack, which is a unique attack for each stance which, when activated, immediately changes the weapon's stance. These trick attacks also have unique air versions, and on that note, you might notice this number on their HUD. This is the number of Quicksilver bullets they have, but what is that exactly? All of Hunter's specials, as well as their down strong, all consume a small quantity of Quicksilver bullets. The trick attacks, for example, consume 3 Quicksilver bullets when used. If you're out of Quicksilver bullets, you won't be able to use these attacks, but fear not. By using Taunt, the hunter stabs themselves, causing a small amount of self-damage but granting 5 extra Quicksilver bullets, just like in Bloodborne. Now, on the note of their other specials, first we have Forward Special, Hunter's Pistol. This is a very simple move on its own. For the cost of a single Quicksilver bullet, the hunter pulls out their pistol and shoots forward. This projectile can be great for hitting people far away and extend combos, but that's not all. If you're familiar with Bloodborne, you probably know where we're going with this. Since Bloodborne doesn't have proper shield parries like Dark Souls, parries are instead performed with the pistol. But how so? If you shoot your enemy while they're in the startup window of their attack, they will then be stunned for a good while. Please keep an eye out for when your opponent is whiffing moves so you can punish them accordingly. But that's still not all though. When you stun an opponent like this, or you simply parry them, you can then perform a visceral attack. How does that work exactly? When an opponent is stunned, simply get close and use Forward Strong, which will make the hunter use a visceral attack. It's a devastating attack that deals a lot of damage and knockback, and better yet, grants you 5 extra Quicksilver bullets, so always try to land visceral attacks as much as possible. In Bloodborne, you don't really have spells like in Dark Souls. Instead, we have the hunter's tools, different items that can cause all sorts of different effects. For example, for their down special, the hunter uses the Madra's Whistle tool. At the cost of 2 Quicksilver bullets, the hunter blows on a whistle and summons a gigantic snake. This snake opens its mouth wide and just waits for anyone to come nearby, including the hunter themselves. If the Madra snake catches whiff of anyone nearby, it bites down with tremendous force, which causes anyone caught in this attack to get launched upwards. This is great for combo setups or placing traps on the stage. Finally, we have their up special. For the cost of 3 Quicksilver bullets, the hunter uses the Old Hunter Bone. Unlike Dark Souls, Bloodborne is a much faster and aggressive game, which is why we wanted to give the hunter some faster movement options, and that's where the up special comes into play. This tool allows the hunter to quickly dash in a puff of smoke in 8 different directions, easily allowing the hunter to quickly maneuver around the battlefield and even cancel the dash's end lag into aerials. However, if you're low on Quicksilver bullets, this dash will instead put the hunter into pratfall, so please keep that in mind when using this attack. Now before we take a look at their brand new stage, let's quickly check out some of their other notable animations and characteristics. The Hunter's Downstrong uses the Beast Roar Hunter tool, which serves as a direct parallel to the Chosen Undead's Downstrong, Force, due to them working virtually identical in their respective games. The Hunter's Downstrong has slightly shorter range and higher end lag when compared to the Chosen Undead's Downstrong, but it sports higher knockback scaling to make it a more threatening kill option, but it being a hunter tool, meaning it also costs a bit of Quicksilver bullets. As said previously, Bloodborne doesn't really have shield parries, but there are actually a few selection of shields in Bloodborne, one of those being the Lock Shield, which is used for the Hunter's regular parry. It's much more useful here than in its original game. Again, like the Chosen Undead, for their revival platform, the Hunter also returns to their cozy lamp. Lamps act very similarly to bonfires in Dark Souls, always serving as a safe haven from all the nightmares around old Yharnam. When the Hunter has 20 Quicksilver bullets, or by holding down when you have less than a maximum, the Hunter will perform their taunt, that being the Shake Off Cape gesture. It's a simple but super cool gesture, where the Hunter simply shakes off their cape, ready to get to the action. Before we started development, Seer shared some of these insanely cool moveset sketches. I can say personally that it was seeing these sketches, displaying how sick the character could be, that made me truly want to make this character a reality. And finally, we have their unique trailer artwork. The artwork was beautifully drawn by the artist Rabbids. They truly brought that Bloodborne vibe to the Hunter's thumbnail artwork, and the result is simply spectacular. And a funny story. At first we weren't going to give them a unique artwork. After all, they weren't really a part of the Final Frenzy. But during the development of Chosen Undead, when Altali wasn't available to make their unique artwork, I sort of panicked and ended up commissioning 2 artists to make the Undead's artwork. But when Grim Reaper finished their work on the art, I ended up talking to Rabbit for them to make an artwork for the Hunter instead of the Undead, like they were initially commissioned for. Hey, it's my turn to shine. Get out of here. Howdy everyone, Vivi here. Bet you didn't expect to see me here, huh? Well, I mean, aside from the whole voicing every frenzy presentation, whatever. I'm taking over to talk about the new stage I developed. So here we finally are. To the Hunter's home stage, the Great Bridge. Situated in central Yharnam, the Great Bridge connects the city to the Cathedral Ward area, though it appears to be locked off at the moment. A new player is very likely to stumble into this area early into the game, and as such it's become quite the iconic landmark. The stage takes place on a bisection of the bridge, looking toward the gate marking a dead end. An abandoned carriage lays on the right, acting as the stage's sole platform, which makes this stage sort of a foil to Firelink Shrine. In the background, you can see the silhouettes of some iconic buildings peeking out past the gate, as well as an ominous full moon that sits in the center of the frame. As awesome of a scene it is, the Great Bridge is iconic for a certain boss appearance. Unfortunately, the Cleric Beast is back. After you see its silhouette against the moon, you need to take care of where you stand, since if a player approaches the center of the stage, the beast will howl and then crashes into the bridge, delivering a devastating hit to any in its way. After this, it leaves the stage, and after some time will haunt the fighters yet again. Though, you have to wonder, with such a telegraphed strike, could you actually use the Cleric Beast to your advantage in your fight? For a calmer experience, the basic form takes place after the Cleric Beast has been hunted, as evidenced by the lantern, animated by Seer originally for Hunter's respawn platform, calmly illuminating the road. For the tracklist this time, we chose 4 fitting boss themes from Bloodborne. Cleric Beast and the Hunter were here to represent the boss themes from central Yharnam area. The other 2 songs come from the old Hunter's DLC, with Lawrence, the First Vicar, for the boss's ties with the Cleric Beast, and Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower, since the aforementioned clock tower appears proudly in the background. Before I pass things back to VVizard and Seer, I'd like to mention that my contributions here are inspired by more than just Bloodborne. For the ease of reference material and translation to a smaller resolution, many visual elements are also taken from Lilith Waga's fan project, Bloodborne PSX. In fact, I felt so driven to contribute a stage because of how much I fell in love with her Bloodborne-inspired game, Nightmare Cart, and started to involve myself more in the original source material. So, in addition to the original Bloodborne team, I hope Lilith's works are also given a fair tribute here as well. And with that, we conclude this presentation. Working on this character was a huge treat. This is easily one of the more unique movesets we've worked on. And just like when we made the Chosen Undead, the protagonist of Dark Souls 1, my first and favorite Souls title, we made the Paleblood Hunter for the same reason. with them being the protagonist of Bloodborne, which is Seer's favorite and first Souls game. It was interesting how the Undead and Hunter's development ended up overlapping, since in many ways they share lots of similarities, like a limited resource that empowers their specials, a non-conventional type of parry and riposte rewarding punish, and even their different levels of mobility. These all also reflect how each of their games are like. Dark Souls is a slower-paced game, where you need to truly balance your actions, while Bloodborne is a faster-paced game that rewards aggression and reactive gameplay. Now the big part. They're part of the Final Frenzy? How? There wasn't anything on the logo previously. Well, that's what I want to touch on. Yes, they were initially not part of the Final Frenzy. They were Seer's original mod and I was simply going to assist him on that. However, during development, the character was turning out super well, being a nice contrast to the Chosen Undead. And with me accidentally giving them a unique artwork, and with Vivi, who recently fell in love with Nightmare Cart, offering to give them a completely unique home stage, they were part of the frenzy in everything but name. So I then asked Altali to add their icon to the logo, and the rest is history. And on that note, I would like to thank everyone involved in this project. Thanks to VVizard for making the Great Bridge stage all on her own. The result was truly spectacular. Thanks to Altali for updating the Final Frenzy logo, and to Rapeats for making their unique artwork as well. The result was simply superb. And of course, thanks to the amazing artist of Seer. Thank you for letting me be part of developing this incredible mod with you. This was his character first and foremost, one that I'm extremely happy and proud of helping bring to life. Your talents and artistry are simply unmatched, and I still look forward to working more with you in the future. And with that, we truly end this presentation. The Paleblood Hunter was released yesterday at the Four Prints Workshop Direct, which we're really happy to be a part of. But of course, today we'll be releasing the Great Bridge stage right now, so please be sure to check out both of those. Now, thank you all for watching. I hope you all had fun with these mods, and for real this time, the next Final Frenzy character will most likely take a bit longer. So please, I ask for your patience, and please be on the lookout for more in the future. See you all next time!